So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the webinar, Een Oekraïense psycholoog in dienst. It's that easy. We hope that all of you will leave this webinar thinking, indeed, it is. We will see in the end. Since we have quite a lot of English speakers joining this webinar, we've decided to give this webinar in English. We hope that that's okay with you. If this causes big problems for you, then please let us know in the chat. And also, please feel free to ask your own questions or your comments in Dutch if you feel more comfortable speaking Dutch. So we're so happy that you're here with us today to learn more about employing the very skilled group of Ukrainian psychologists who are here in the Netherlands and who cannot wait to start helping to support the Ukrainian refugees who are in the Netherlands and of whom a growing group of people are experiencing mental health problems and trauma. Now, let me first shortly introduce myself and Beer, my co-host of today. So my name is Vivian Hemmelder. I'm the International Network Coordinator of the Nederlandse GGZ. And part of my role in this function is to also find good solutions to support the mental health and well-being of Ukrainians in the Netherlands. My co-host of today is Beer Jonkers, co-founder of PsyGlobal, and PsyGlobal is part of the collaborative called Empathia. Beer will tell you much more in a little bit about what PsyGlobal does and what Empathia does. We are also quite curious about who you are. And we think that we have actually quite a good mix of Ukrainian psychologists and Dutch mental health providers in this webinar. So please feel invited to introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know who you are, who you work from, and well, get to know each other a little bit. Who knows, maybe this webinar itself will already provide a good match. So let's take a look at the program now. So we will start with a presentation from Beer, who will tell us a little bit more about the mental health of Ukrainians in the Netherlands, the Ukrainian psychologists who are living and working here today in the Netherlands, and what it takes and what it means to make a good match between a mental health service and a Ukrainian psychologist so that they can work in a contract to help Ukrainian psychologists in the Netherlands. After that, we will have Julia Samsonova and regiebehandelaar Korma Poele here, who will tell us more about how it works in practice. So Julia works for Boei Limburg, and they will share more about their personal experiences and the lessons that they've learned in her employment there. After that, we have plenty of time for Q&A. Please ask all the questions that you have in the chat. We'll come back to them either already during the presentations or otherwise we also have a lot of space for it afterwards. And then in the end, we will close and we will hope that you all go home with some very useful knowledge and handvatten, as we say in Dutch, to get to work. Let me see. What we wanted to do first, before we start, is to get a bit of a expectations management and a bit of a feeling of how you think it actually is. Do you think that hiring a Ukrainian psychologist or Ukrainian mental health professional is easy, as we claim, or do you think it is not? So please take your phone, take a picture of this QR code, and it will lead you to a Mentimeter link in which you can answer this question. And then Beer will take it from there to see what your responses are. Meanwhile, while you are trying or while you are getting to this link, one last housekeeping announcement. This webinar is being recorded. And if you don't feel comfortable being in this video or in this recording, then please turn off your camera. Then you will stay out of the recording. However, if you don't mind, then we would really invite you to keep your camera on because it's a lot more fun if we know who's all here with us today. We will share the recording and the presentations after the webinar, and also any other useful information that will be shared in the chat. Okay, I think everyone has had long enough of a chance to fill out the Mentimeter. So let's see what the results are.
Yeah, so I'm going to share the other screen, and hopefully everyone can see right now this screen. I see that around 15 people have responded yet, and we are quite on average. So on a scale from 1 to 5, 1 strongly disagreeing and 5 strongly agreeing. So it's easy enough. We are on a 2.6, so it's almost exactly in the middle. I don't know if we are still waiting for people to respond. I think it's best that well, people can still respond, and maybe by the end of the presentation today, we can go back to this answer and see if there's a change. But I don't see any other people.
Someone who disagrees with the question. Maybe Isabella, you could elucidate on that shortly. No. Okay, then let's continue.
Sorry, I had to search for how I came in this conversation. Is it easy or not? Then you say, yes, it's easy, or no, it's not easy. I don't get the question. I disagree. Is it easy or not? I disagree, or I don't get it.
All right. So on a scale on the left, on 1, it's not easy, and on number 5, it's very easy.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Well, there's one more. Maybe that was Isabella. So we are exactly in the middle right now. So it's interesting. I think we can also maybe later analyze if this is because people are answering 2 or 3, or some of them are answering 1 and some of them are answering 5. That would be even better. So I'll go back to the presentation. I also can give some people the ability to go back to the QR code once more. So if people still want to vote, they can do this here. So feel free to or make a picture or scan it with your phone. So Vivian already introduced me. So I'm Bejonkas, co-founder and director of PsyGlobal, and we try to explain you a little bit today about what we do, what our role is also in the Empathia program. So first of all, the Dutch mental health system for us comprises of 4 levels of stakeholders, which will mean the following: is that what we try to do is we try to help mental health clients by connecting them with mental health professionals that can work within mental health organizations, that work within the mental health market and policy. So this is the focus that we have. And so we need to know about all these different categories. We need to know something in order to make this a successful ecosystem. So we're going to discuss every layer today. First, what we do is we look at mental health clients, which are in fact people in need, people who have a mental problem and need help. So as of today, approximately 95,000 Ukrainian displaced people are in the Netherlands. And from this group, we roughly think that 3,000 to 4,000 people need specialized mental health care, and up to maybe 20,000 people will need some kind of therapy or care. And this is also when we look at this group based on a survey that was done after the first Russian invasion in 2014, we see that when we look at these mental health problems, that they consist of, well, the most common ones actually, depression, anxiety, and PTSD, and of course also some other issues. But in general, this is sort of what we can expect of people in need, which we call mental health clients. We will elaborate a little bit more on this later to get this more into scope. So in the Empathia program, we have different partners, but Opora is one of the partners, and we try to, on the one hand, get a very clear view of what is the demand, so what is actually needed, and on the other hand, PsyGlobal is focusing on how can we actually find, for instance, mental health professionals like psychologists to help these people that are in need. So first, to actually get a little bit more of an insight on the demand, we look at what Opora is doing within the Empathia program. So therefore, a colleague of ours, Yeva, will join, and we'll explain a little bit more about the demand. Let's see if Yeva is here.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, she.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you today, to join you. And as you now can see on the screen, okay, I'm Yeva, I'm a psychologist from Empathia team. I'm Ukrainian, I come from Ukraine when war starts, and I'm happy to join this project to help Ukrainian people, to help Ukrainian psychologists. And as you can see in our slides, that from May, when we start work, we have already approximately 500 requests, and you see a number that most of requests are from adults, a small amount from about kids, and also we have group requests. Actually, these numbers will all the time growing and changing, and we know it because Ukrainian people already have experience from the war 214, and we see how it works and how it changed. What's important to say is that we see a dynamic of mental health problems, how it changed with time, because already people in war starts like more than 1.5 years ago, so it will be 2 years. And at the beginning, it was a request more about I feel bad, I feel sad. It was more like emotional things. Now we have a complex request about how it affects me and how it's changed my life and how it goes worse down and down. And also we can apply to World Health Organization information that, for example, depression is one of the most hard diseases, and one of it's on the first place of disabilities, working disabilities for people. And in 225, they expect it will be number 2 in the world. So we can see that it's very important to help people at the beginning to prevent this, because otherwise it will take much more efforts for specialists and for peoples and for other institutions to help people, because it will be a big and complex problem later. Also, I want to a little bit light questions with which people are coming to us, because in our slide we just see regions where the most amount of request coming from, and actually it's you can see it, it's North Holland, South Holland, North Brabant. We see actually we can compare it with the situation how people was coming to Netherlands and what was the first hub that helped people. And also we can see that it's the area where the most Ukrainian people live, and actually where the most Dutch people live also. The most population live in these areas, that's why. And also we can talk about information, that information in this area faster growing, they know more about projects that help, and that's why they give more requests. And for example, if you look at Friesland and Groningen, we can see that there is less requests, but it's just because they have less information about us, and maybe that's why less requests. And also I want to say that requests are at the beginning, when we just started on May, a request was more about how information, you know, how can I do it? Can you help me with this? Can you tell me where to go, where to ask for help? Or I feel anxiety, what I should do. It was not much about I need a psychologist now, but now we see that requests start to be more in point. You know, I have depression, I have anxiety, I have panic attack. I have it like already few months, and now we see that a lot of requests are coming to us, but it's requests for doctors. That's a request that need medical help, because at the beginning it was more preventive and we can help much more, and now we're more like, okay, you need to go there, okay, you need to go in this institution or there, and it actually shows that help need now. Because if we will make it in time longer, it will be not any more preventive help, not even any more psychological help. It will be much worse. And also we, as our program, we don't have that, let's say we couldn't do some kind of job that psychologists in HIZ can do. For example, we couldn't do diagnostic, which a psychologist in HIZ should do, and that's the main point actually to start treatment, is to make a correct diagnostic, that then it will be good. And these things we couldn't do. And when we analyze our request, we actually look at keywords, you know, what people say. Of course, we are a team of psychologists and we understand what's going on and what should do, but actually we couldn't prove it by some, you know, diagnosis, because we couldn't do it. And about a question, is it hard or easy to help Ukrainians or to place Ukrainian people to work? Of course, it's not so easy. Of course, it's need to be a complex work of different specialists. It should be all together, helping, working together. But actually, it will give a very good feedback for all of us, because we will see how this numbers of requests should be different. You know, I couldn't say that it will be low, but I think that the quality of this request will change, and then it will be, maybe, I think the main point, to make it more information line, where people will know, okay, it's good, I have where to ask questions, I have my answers, and I will be good. Because a lot of people really need psychological support, which is not just talk, it's not just information, it's something that they will get from professionals. That's our actually job, to move them to the professionals and to find these professionals to them. Yeah, thank you. If you have questions to me, I can answer.
Well, thanks for now, Eva. And I think if people have questions, it would be great if they can put them in the chat, so we can maybe collaborate and get them, and then maybe ask you also some questions a little bit later, Eva. But thanks for now. I think it is very clear that there is a demand. There is a lot of people that need help, and thanks to the also the Empathia website and also the helpline. You can go on this website. It will be in Dutch, it will be in English, it will be in Ukrainian, so it's easy accessible, and you can easily reach people that will have the first talk with you, and also try to decide a little bit what is maybe the problem that you're facing. So this will get more and more expensive and gives us a more and more clear view, which will help a lot. So then we actually have the first layer of the mental health client, like where are they, what are the problems, how many? And then they need to go to a mental health professional. And the good thing about, well, what we at PsyGlobal try to focus on is try to find these mental health professionals. And there are two ways to do this. You can look at the Dutch mental health professionals, but among these 95,000 Ukrainian displaced people that are in the Netherlands, there are also a lot of good and qualified and experienced psychologists. So what we try to do together also, of course, with Oekrai within the Empathy program, is to find all these psychologists and to get an overview of what we have. So now within the database, we have roughly 160 Ukrainian mental health professionals that are available. So if you go to our website, psychglobal.org, You will find an overview on the homepage. When you scroll a little bit down, you see an overview of our social map, and you can see wherever in the Netherlands, but also outside of the Netherlands, we have Ukrainian mental health professionals. Now, what is important is that we look at 3 different factors to decide if they can work within the mental health organization. First, we look at their academic degree. So we look at what kind of diplomas they have. For instance, they had their education in Ukraine, so we check what kind of diplomas do we have. And in the Netherlands, for Ukrainian people now, it is possible to validate your diploma for free at NUFIC. And we try to check with every mental health professional if they have their diplomas validated and what their validation was. Now, if the validation of your diploma is on a master WO level, so a master university level, and it's validated like that, that's one of the biggest criteria to work as a mental health professional, as a psychologist, as a basispsycholoog within a mental health organization, a GGZ-instelling, under supervision of WIG-registered therapists, for instance, a GZ-psycholoog. So this is really important. And we know that roughly from all the people that we've screened so far, 23% have this validation on master's WO level. Now, the second thing that is really important is, of course, language, because if you need to be able to communicate with your team members at the mental health organization, you need to write reports that other mental health professionals also need to be able to understand and read. So we check English proficiency. Dutch, of course, there are also some Ukrainian mental health professionals that were living here for a longer period of time that also speak Dutch, but most of them, of course, don't speak Dutch. But some of them speak quite good English. So we also try to screen on that. And for us, it's really important that the English level is on B2, which is almost professional, but at least sufficient enough to write your reports, to understand everything that your colleagues are saying, but also, just in general, to communicate with your colleagues. And the third factor that we think is very important is experience, your work experience. And we see that there are a lot of Ukrainian mental health professionals that have a lot of experience. I think more than half of them have more than 5 years of experience, and a lot of them actually more than 10. So if a mental health organization comes to us and asks, do you have a Ukrainian mental health professional that could work with us to help a Ukrainian client? Yes, there are, and we have quite a good view of what their qualifications are. So what we really need is, on one hand, we have a clear view of the demand. It's getting better and better and better, thanks to also Empathia and the hotline and all the work that we do there. On the other hand, we also have quite a good view of all the possibilities of all the mental health professionals that could work within mental health organizations to help these people. But there's one connecting factor, and that's the mental health organization, the GGZ-instelling. Because once a Ukrainian psychologist is working there, the connection is easily made with the person in need. So this is what we try to focus on as much as possible now. And there are actually quite some good examples already of how this is working. So in the upcoming 20 minutes, we have more time to look at one of these examples. But before we do, because I've already talked a little bit and Jeva also already talked a little bit, if there are already some questions about what we said, we could have some time, I would say 5-10 minutes to discuss some questions. And if there are no other questions, we can of course move forward to the example. I think I just need to look into the chat. I saw one question. Yeah, there was one question about if someone needs care and they want to be referred to a mental health organization, how does this go? Well, it's exactly the same way as for a Dutch person. So a Ukrainian person in need of help, needs to go to a GP, to a general practitioner, to a huisarts, and then the huisarts, in case the huisarts thinks that this is the best thing to do, needs to refer the patient to the client to a mental health organization. Now, the mental health organization can always provide care for these people because all the care for Ukrainian displaced people in the Netherlands is covered by the RMO, the Regeling Medische Zorg Ontheemden. So all the care that is provided by a mental health organization is covered by insurance. And also for the client, this is important, that all the care that they need doesn't have any extra cost. So they don't need to pay for any extra cost. So that was one of the questions that I saw.
I have one other question for you, Beer. Because you said that there are some requirements, basically, like people need to have a master's degree, people need to speak B2 level and have some experience for them to be able to start right away in a mental health service. How big is the pool of Ukrainian psychologists that you have ready to start right now that meet these requirements?
It's around I would say 25%. Olga knows this specifically, but it's roughly around that number. And it's also hopefully growing. On the other hand, we are also looking at all these people who don't meet these qualifications, so who don't have a master validation, especially that one. We see that a lot of people get their diplomas validated on bachelor level, which is actually too bad because we talk about a lot of people who have a lot of experience, but just happen to got their diplomas 15 years ago, and the educational system was quite different from the educational system in the Netherlands. So they automatically get their diplomas validated on bachelor level, but we're talking about very experienced psychotherapists. So what we try to work on now also with different partners is to see if there is a different position or a different way that all these psychologists could eventually also work within mental health organizations, where the care that they provide is also covered by the RMO, because this is really important, because in fact everyone can work as a psychologist, but to get this covered by the health insurance, and also to make sure that this is actually a regulated system and like the standard route also for Dutch people. Yeah, this is still a thing that we need, that we are trying to solve.
Yeah.
Sorry,
but at
long
least
answer.
25 to 30 people readily available and a big pool to come.
And some are already working. Yeah, some are already working. Yeah.
Can I ask the question? Sorry, can you hear me? Yeah?
Very good.
Yeah, okay. I just have one question. My name is Natalie, and actually my first specialty is the English teacher and French teacher, and I got my dual qualification, but also so my dual diploma improvement from the Ministry of Education in the Netherlands. But I also have this qualification of psychologist. And as I know that their teacher, it's regulated specialty. So to get this improvement like dual, I needed to do a lot because it's not enough to go to this honorific site and get this improvement. Yeah, you are just the same as a master in the Netherlands, but you have to contact the Ministry of Education. I think with the psychologists, it's the same, isn't it? So is it regulated specialty? Because I didn't send my my psychologist diploma. Actually, I have this qualification, and I'm just, I think that I'm not bad in psychology because I have been teaching at school, at university for 28 years. So, but I didn't do it. Is it worth doing it? I mean, with
Well,
my diploma of psychologist?
Well, the first thing I would say is that it's really important to ask yourself whether you would like to work as a psychologist. Now, if you would say, I would really like to work as a psychologist within the regulated system, I think it's now still for free that you can let your diplomas validated. Now, if your diplomas are then validated on a master's WO level, this will give you a lot of options. If it's not the case, then we, PsyGlobal, but everyone is trying to figure out what are the other options. So one is to maybe also go to the university and do some extra classes, but this is still what we're working on. But I would first advise you to let your diplomas be validated for free at NUFIC, and then take it from there.
Yeah, but yeah, it will not be for free because it is the second diploma, but it's not big money, of course.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, before I think we, at the end we also have enough time for extra questions, but I don't want to take too much time of where we talk about a good example of how this can work with a mental health organization and a mental health professional, and that they work together to help Ukrainian people in need. So without further ado, I'll go back and I'll share just once more for a short period of time the presentation. We'll just get these 10 seconds out. We go to Boei Limburg, and I'll first give the word to, I think, Julia. So Julia, maybe you can pick it up from here, and then I'll stay silent.
Hello. With pleasure, yeah. My name is Julia Samsonova. It's my pleasure to introduce myself as a 43-year-old psychologist, currently living in the Netherlands with my Dutch partner, with my 2 children, and with a child of my partner. I received my master's degree in psychology in Kiev, in Ukraine. I also trained in art therapy, positive psychotherapy, Gestalt, and the cognitive behavior therapy. I also run my private practice in Ukraine, working with adults and with children, part-time with the children in an education center. Unfortunately, due to the outbreak war in my hometown in Donetsk in 2014, my family and I were forced to leave everything behind and start anew in Kiev. While it was challenging for me, I became stronger and I adapt to the new surroundings. However, the war also followed us in Kiev. And the last year, in 2022, in February, I fled the country and I came to the Netherlands. I want to tell a few words about the barriers I faced in the Netherlands to share it. Finding a job after I came to the Netherlands took me a long time. At some point, I heard about the PsyGlobal and their mission to support with a job search and orientation in the Dutch mental health system. On my way to becoming a mental professional in the Netherlands, I have faced some barriers to deal with. A first barrier is the Dutch language. And the second, obtaining my diploma recognized in the Netherlands. And the third, finding a partner organization willing to hire me. To work as a mental health professional in the Netherlands requires understanding, speaking, and writing Dutch. Dutch language is nothing like Ukrainian language and requires time and effort to learn. It's also expensive, especially if you don't have a good paid job. Diploma recognition took me some time and effort, but in the end, with the help of PsyGlobal, I overcame this barrier successfully. Also, a team of PsyGlobal supported me in securing 2 paid job opportunities. One at the municipality of Venlo and another one at the Buy Limburg. It took me a year, but I am glad I did. My work today. What do I do? Currently, I work with Ukrainian people at various locations in Venlo. I joyfully and professionally support Ukrainians in their native language without translation barriers. I understand the difficulties of seeking psychological help in a foreign country. The language barrier and the cultural differences can make receiving an adequate and a fast treatment challenging. Having experienced war and immigrations, I better understand Ukrainians' fears, stress, and anxieties, and the trauma in the Netherlands. Providing them with a professional psychological assistance tailored to their specific needs is necessary. Ukrainian psychologists possess knowledge, experience, and a deep understanding of a situation in Ukraine. I am grateful for the opportunity to be here and to represent the Ukrainian community of psychologists in the Netherlands. I believe in building trust with the Dutch mental health organizations, and working together to provide the best care is imperative. Despite the difficulties, I am grateful for the opportunity to start over in my life in the Netherlands. As a Ukrainian psychologist in the Netherlands, I have experience working with Ukrainians. And I want to tell that my clients, they are so happy when they can express their feelings in their language. Especially when expressing feelings is an achievement in itself. Speaking the same language as my clients allow me to create a space for my clients to feel easier and more eager to talk about their stress, about the pain, look for solution, and get calmer. Sharing the language in the same cultural background accelerates the creation of trustful relationship and a positive atmosphere. As a famous British writer, Angela Carter, once wrote, "Language is a power, life, and the instrument of culture, the instrument of domination and deliberation." With no doubt, the language in psychologist-client relationship is, in this sense, the instrument of liberation. Thank you. Any question? Welcome.
I need to hear that. I need to know where that quote is from. Really nice. Thanks for your story. I think before we go to questions, maybe it's good that Korma also you share your experience, because you work together, of course, with Julia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Julia, again. And of course, if we have questions later, then we can discuss them all together. Korma, maybe you would like to also say something.
Yes. Thank you, Julia, for your story. My name is Korma Poelen. I work as a GZ psycholoog at Buy Limburg. Buy Limburg is a small organization. We deliver mental health services to children and their parents from, I think, 4 years old to maybe 18. I worked there now for 2 years, and the last months I also work with Julia. One day my manager came to me and she told me we had an application of a Ukrainian family, and they discovered that it was really difficult to talk to them because of the language. That's the same Julia is telling. The family was speaking also English, and the children also talked a little bit Dutch, so that was really helpful. But still, it was really hard to really understand each other. And the manager, she told me, okay, maybe it's a good idea to work with some Ukrainian psychologists, so we can build a collaboration. And that's when I met Julia. And since then, Julia and we have seen, I think, maybe 4 or 5 families now. We've met them together because, yeah, I'm from Boei Limburg and I'm with Julia together doing the intake gesprek. So I can ask my questions or the things I need to know for Boei Limburg, for the registrations. And Julia, she can ask more about the situation of the family, where did they come from, and yeah, she's building the bonds. So that's really, it's really nice to work together. For example, in one family, the children came to us with their parents, and the parents were asking, do they have like ADHD? And that was the first time we had to think, okay, how are we going to do this? Because I didn't know how in Ukraine things are going. I don't know who's diagnosing ADHD there. Do they deliver medication? How are they thinking about mental health in Ukraine? I didn't know. So it was really nice with Julia together to develop and to search for, yeah, how are we going to do this with this family? And we've had a few talks with the family together. So I did the diagnostics with the help of Julia. And now we have like some goals for the family, and Julia is working with the children and the parents. So it's really nice. Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity to build this. I think it's also sometimes difficult because yeah, working from Boei Limburg, it comes with registration, or you have to do your verslaglegging. You have to count your hours, and yeah, that's like practical problems. But I think we are finding a great way of working. Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks a lot, Conrad. I have one question maybe, is that, do you think that if Julia was not there, that you would be able to provide the same kind of help and the same kind of...
No, I think maybe the family I was talking about, who also spoke a little bit Dutch and a little bit English, maybe we could help them with some things, but we also have a family and they don't speak English and they don't speak Dutch. So yeah, that wouldn't be able without Julia.
Yeah. Yeah. And are there now more people or families finding you and thinking, this is a place where I can go?
Yeah, I think the municipalities, they verwijzen the children and the families to us. And I believe they are starting to find us because we have a lot of new families also coming because they've heard about Julia.
Okay, yeah, thanks. And yeah, anyone else, because it's open for Q&A. Yeah?
Yeah, please feel free to ask your questions in the chat or to raise your hand. We can also give you the floor directly. Meanwhile, I also had one more question for both Julia and Korma, I think. So we have some people who work for mental health services in the webinar today, and they might be thinking about employing a Ukrainian psychologist, but they might also still have some koudwatervrees about some things. What are the tips that you would have for them? Like if you want to start right now thinking about it and working on employing someone, what are sort of hurdles that you've encountered that you found good solutions for?
Yeah, I can tell about my own experience because I found it difficult to really understand how it's working with, ja, hoe zeg je dat in het Engels? Verantwoordelijkheid.
Responsibility.
Yeah, with responsibility, because as a GZ-psycholoog, you feel like you have the responsibility for the treatment and the diagnostics and stuff like that. And in my team, I work with colleagues who have an SKJ registratie, or they also have like a master degree or whatever. And it was, for me, it was difficult to understand, okay, how is this working when I'm working with Julia, who does not have like the SKJ registratie. But in the end, I learned that there are exceptions in working with people who do not have the SKJ registratie. And when I understand it, it was, for me, it was okay. I thought, okay, this is a good, this is good working for this way.
And how have you designed the responsibility other ways? Because you're the supervisor also then, I think, of Julia. Do you have regular meetings, or how do you?
Yeah, we talk to each other maybe once a week, I think, and we email a lot. And I think, and that's really nice with working with Julia and getting to know each other, because that's also building trust in, okay, what do we have on each other. But when I'm calling with her, she also tells me, okay, I'm ticking this and this, what do you think? And then we set some steps and we will follow them. So she keeps me posted, and that's really great. And it's the same when working with my other colleagues, if you're together in a family.
And it helps that you can work together in English, I guess, for that.
Yeah.
Rob has a question in the chat. He asks, did Julia have to get a big registration? Who wants to answer? I already see you both nodding no.
I can explain why, but the thing is that this is why Julia and Korma are working together, because a big registered therapist, as Korma is and responsible for the treatment. So always needs to also be involved, for instance, at the intake. Or also at the closure, at the termination of the treatment. But a lot of parts of the treatment can be done by a basispsycholoog. I am a basispsycholoog, but a lot of other people are as well. And you can provide therapy without having the big registration, as long as a big registered therapist is involved in the treatment plan and the diagnostics and the actual treatment and how to provide this treatment. So this actually helps that a lot of psychologists can work without having the big registration, but then they need to work together with someone like Korma. Yeah.
Any other questions from the yes, Marina also has a question. What diagnostics methods do you use in your work? Very content specific question.
Is that a question for me, maybe? I don't know.
For you or Julia, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends. In the intake, we just like have a talk with the family and the children. But for this question about does our children have ADHD, yeah, I use the same methods I always use, like asking about the development, some questionnaires, talking to the teachers, seeing the children and also the parents. So yeah, it's a lot. It's like really broad, and it depends on the question, of course.
Can I ask also a question to Sparma about diagnostic? Do psychologists do diagnostic and make a diagnosis, or it should be a doctor that may diagnose? Because in Ukraine, it's psychologists don't do it; just doctor can write diagnosis.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something Julia also told me. In the Netherlands, if you're a trained psychologist, you can also do diagnostics. And also the doctor, the psychiatrist, they can also do diagnostics, but een psycholoog can also do it. But we have the difference in the Netherlands that a psychiatrist is needed for medication.
Yeah, we have actually the same, but we make diagnostic Ukrainian psychologists, but together in a couple with doctor, and just doctor is the one who can make it official. But we do, of course, a lot of tests, we do a lot of diagnostic, and we compare it together with a doctor to discuss which will be the main diagnosis. But the only doctor can put it officially in the papers, and it will be like official diagnosis. You have the same?
No, it's that's not the same. We don't need like the doctor to make it official.
Oh, okay, thank you. And it can be, it should be special psychologist who just diagnostic psychologist, or it's any big registered psychologist though?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's about yeah. You need to have like some specializations, but it's more about Beer. Misschien kan jij dat uitleggen.
Yeah. Well, from what I understand is that psychologists can, yes, do all the diagnostics, the instruments, the questionnaires, and then decide, right, I think that this is the diagnosis. But then, of course, always has to discuss this with a big registered psychologist in order to make it like this is the diagnosis that we start the treatment on. And without that, the treatment is not covered by insurance. So I think sort of it's a little bit the same like in Ukraine, but it's not only a doctor, it can also be a psycholoog, or you have different big registered positions. In short, it's psycholoog, psychotherapeut, or clinical psychologist. So that's normally how it works. And then there are some people who work as, for instance, psychodiagnostisch medewerker, who are more specializing in just the diagnostics. So they only do diagnostics with a lot of tools. And most of the times it's when a lot of people have very specialized problems and they need specialized diagnostic tools. Yeah.
We have 2 more questions in the chat. I think the first one is a very good lead up to this conversation. So there are differences between the 2 countries. There are differences in how you work also. So Ed Schuur is asking, what is your main profit in working together? And I don't know, Ed, you can definitely interrupt me if I misinterpret, but I think also, what do you learn from each other?
Yes, of course. My main goal is to see if they are helping us in their way. What's our profit? What is our main profit, and what do we earn in time?
Who wants to answer?
I think Cormac can answer it, maybe.
Yes, I think the greatest profit is that we can help the children and people from Ukraine who need like mental health care, because I think otherwise we wouldn't be able to help them because of the language problems and also the culture and yeah, things you need to know about Ukraine. And in time, yeah, I think when I didn't work with Julia and I tried to help this family, I think it would be like so much more time to get to know each other and to understand each other in language issues and stuff. What do you think, Julia?
Yeah, what I can add, what I'm thinking about this, about our collaboration. We learn from each other. Every time in a contact, we learn. Yeah, we discover new case and we learn. We share, like my head, your head, my thoughts, your thoughts. So we learn, and it's about, you know, when you are working with Ukrainian family in the Netherlands, a system bit different. Our people are Ukrainians, and you should make a puzzle, you know, and it's helpful to make a puzzle and a completely picture of. It's helpful when you are with somebody, you are supported by somebody who knows rules, a system, important details. So it's very important and it's very helpful, for sure.
I think that's. Oh, Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, Vivian. Yeah, because due to the time, I thought, but you also wanted to say something about that.
Yeah, the same. I think I wanted to suggest that maybe this is a beautiful way to close the webinar. There are 2 more questions in the chat, but I wanted to ask Beer if maybe you can follow those up in the email that we will send around with more information to everybody. I want to thank everyone who has been here today for attending, for contributing to the discussion with very valuable questions, and a special thank you to the speakers. Jepa, who even joined us from her holidays. Julia, thank you for your beautiful, what do you call it? Betoog, I wanted to say in Dutch, but story about why it is so important that Ukrainian people can speak to a Ukrainian psychologist. I think you showed that very clearly, and I think that shows also why we're here today on this mission. To get more Ukrainian psychologists employed. Please know to find us. You can find me at the Nederlands GGZ. And also definitely take a look at the website of PsyGlobal and Empathia, because Beer and Olga and their colleagues can mean a lot for you in both for the mental health providers and for the Ukrainian psychologists in making sure that all the paperwork is in order and that you find a really good match with each other. We will send around the recording of this webinar. We will send the presentation, which also has some links that you can click on. And we will share more information based on the questions in the chat. If you have any questions, find us. And we hope that you will, because we also really hope that we can learn from your experience in bringing this in practice. That will also make us be able to help you better. So thank you very much, and we hope to see you soon.